Have you ever wondered about the empire that gave us the first written laws, legendary gardens that might not have even existed, and charted the stars with stunning accuracy? Today, we're journeying back in time, nearly 4,000 years, to the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, to witness the rise, the glory, and the eventual fall of one of history's most influential civilizations, the Babylonian Empire. Our story begins around 1894 BCE, when a group of people known as the Amorites established a small city-state on the banks of the Euphrates River. This city was Babylon. For a while, it was just one of many competing powers in the region. But then, a leader ascended the throne who would change everything. His name was Hammurabi. When Hammurabi came to power in 1792 BCE, he was a brilliant military strategist and a masterful diplomat. He didn't just conquer his neighbors. He forged alliances, played his rivals against each other, and slowly but surely consolidated his power. Over decades, he transformed Babylon from a minor city into the capital of a vast empire that stretched across Mesopotamia. But Hammurabi's greatest legacy wasn't his conquests, it was his code. Imagine a society where justice was often arbitrary, where the rich could easily exploit the poor. Hammurabi sought to change that. He had nearly 300 laws carved onto a massive stone stele, a pillar for all to see. The Code of Hammurabi wasn't the very first set of laws, but it was the most comprehensive and famous of its time. It covered everything: commerce, property, family law, and criminal justice. It famously introduced the principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, which sounds harsh to us. But at the time, it was a step toward standardized justice, preventing personal vendettas from spiraling out of control. The code was unequal for everyone. Punishments often depended on your social status, but it established the revolutionary idea that society should be governed by written, publicly known laws, not just the whims of a ruler. This was a cornerstone for legal systems for millennia to come. After Hammurabi's death, his empire eventually fragmented. For centuries, Babylon experienced periods of foreign rule and decline, but the city's spirit endured. And then, in the 7th century BCE, it rose again, more magnificent than ever before, under a new dynasty. This was the Neo-Babylonian Empire, and its most famous king was Nebuchadnezzar II. He transformed Babylon into the largest and most splendid city in the ancient world. He fortified it with massive double walls, so thick that chariots could race on top of them. And at the heart of his city was the spectacular Ishtar Gate. This wasn't just a gate, it was a masterpiece of art and architecture. Covered in brilliant blue glazed bricks, it was decorated with reliefs of lions, dragons, and bulls representing the gods. Imagine walking through this colossal, vibrant blue gateway, a symbol of Babylonian power and devotion. Fragments of this gate were excavated in the early 20th century and painstakingly reconstructed in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, where you can still see its breathtaking beauty today. Beyond the gate lay the processional way, leading to the city's sacred precinct and the great ziggurat, a towering temple dedicated to the chief god, Marduk. Some scholars believe this ziggurat may have been the inspiration for the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. But perhaps the most famous creation of Nebuchadnezzar's reign is also the most mysterious: the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Described by ancient Greek and Roman writers as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. They were said to be a series of terraced gardens lush with exotic trees and plants rising up like a green mountain in the middle of the city. Water was supposedly ingeniously pumped from the river to irrigate the highest terraces. It was a romantic story, a paradise built by the king for his homesick wife, who missed the green hills of her homeland. But here's the twist. Despite extensive archaeological excavations in Babylon, we have found no definitive evidence that the Hanging Gardens ever existed there. Not a single Babylonian text mentions them. It's a historical puzzle. Some historians believe the gardens were real but were located in the Assyrian city of Nineveh and were mistakenly attributed to Babylon later on. Others think they were simply a fantastical legend, a Greek writer's poetic embellishment. Real or not, the story of the Hanging Gardens has captured our imagination for centuries, a symbol of lost idyllic beauty. The Babylonians weren't just great builders. They were also brilliant scientists and scholars. Their contributions to mathematics and astronomy were truly groundbreaking. They developed a sophisticated base-60 counting system. Think about that for a second. Why do we have 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour? Why does a circle have 360 degrees? That's a direct legacy from the Babylonians. Their astronomers were meticulous observers of the night sky. From their ziggurats, they mapped the stars, tracked the movements of the planets, and could predict solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. They developed the zodiac, dividing the celestial sphere into 12 constellations that we still recognize today. This wasn't just for curiosity. It was deeply tied to their religion and their belief that the heavens held clues to the future. Their astronomical diaries, recorded on clay tablets, are some of the longest-running scientific projects in human history. But like all great empires, the Neo-Babylonian Golden Age had to end. After Nebuchadnezzar's death, a series of weaker rulers followed. In 539 BCE, the end came swiftly. The rising power of Persia, led by Cyrus the Great, laid siege to Babylon. The Greek historian Herodotus tells a dramatic tale of how the Persians cleverly diverted the Euphrates River, which flowed through the city, allowing their army to march into Babylon along the dry riverbed, taking the city by surprise during a great feast. The fall of Babylon wasn't a story of destruction, however. Cyrus the Great was known for his tolerance. He preserved the city, respected its customs, and even honored its gods. Babylon continued to be an important cultural and economic center for a time, but its days as the capital of an empire were over. The city slowly declined over the following centuries, and its magnificent buildings eventually crumbled into dust, buried by the sands of time. So why do we still talk about Babylon today? Because its legacy is woven into the very fabric of our world. Its legal principles influenced later civilizations. Its architectural wonders inspired awe and legend. Its mathematical and astronomical knowledge laid the foundation for future scientific discovery. From the way we tell time to the stories we tell about human ambition and divine justice, the echoes of Babylon are all around us. The story of the Babylonian Empire is a powerful reminder of the cycle of history of rise and fall, of incredible achievement and eventual decay. It shows us how a civilization can build wonders that touch the sky, create systems that shape societies, and then fade away, leaving behind ghosts and legends, and a legacy that continues to fascinate and influence us thousands of years later. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to ancient Babylon. If you enjoyed this dive into history, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let me know in the comments which ancient civilization you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious.